If your curls are weighed down or falling flat or not lasting, or maybe they feel dry, brittle, and really hard to manage, you might be styling for the wrong finish type. In today's video, I'm going to be splitting my hair down the middle and using two completely different product combos to show you what a balanced routine looks like for soft versus rough finish hair. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Gina, and here on this channel, we simplify curly hair so it works with your lifestyle and you get the results you want. Let's get into the two product combos that my curl coaching clients that have different hair types have had success with. I'm starting off with freshly washed hair that's currently damp, and I'm just going to spray it down with my water bottle. But I wanted to first talk about what is your hair's finish and how do you tell which finish that you have, because it is going to determine the products that you use. So the term hair finish is something you might have heard from Barbie Dell. I'm not sure if you guys follow her, but she's another curly creator, makes amazing content, and she coined the term hair finish. And I love that she's talking about this because this is something that I had tried to describe before, and I think the word hair finish really makes sense for this because it focuses on how your hair looks and feels, which is much easier to determine than those abstract concepts like your hair's porosity and your texture and all of that. But the way I like to think about hair finish is a combination of your hair's texture. So if it's fine, medium, or coarse, that's the actual strand width, and your hair's porosity, which is essentially your damage level or how healthy your hair's cuticle layer is. And then also your curl pattern, which does play a role in the appearance of your hair and also how it behaves. So I consider it a combination of all three of those things. And yes, you can fall somewhere between soft versus rough finish, but let's talk about some of the characteristics of soft finish hair. Soft finish hair feels naturally soft. Like even when you don't have products in, of course, products are gonna make it feel softer, but if you air dried product free, would your hair feel generally fairly soft, kind of puffy almost? It naturally can look fairly smooth, especially if you do like a blowout or straighten it. You can really tell the difference between your hair finish because it will actually look smooth when it's straightened. But the biggest characteristic that you need to know is soft finish hair gets weighed down easily. It can't tolerate a lot of moisture and conditioning and products that make your hair feel soft. So you might lose your curl very easily, it'll fall straight, it'll fall limp, and it generally doesn't last as long throughout the day and in between your washes. Rough finish hair feels naturally a bit more rough. This is closer to the hair finish that I have. So when I don't have products in my hair, it does not look smooth at all. It does not feel very soft, and it has that rougher appearance. And I don't mean rough in a bad way by any means. And I'm not simply saying that if you have a tight curl pattern, then you have rough hair. That's not what I'm saying. It's the combination of your texture, your porosity, and your curl pattern. Rough finish hair also tends to not be quite as shiny naturally. I don't think I've ever seen my hair look shiny unless if I have like a stronghold gel in or an oil. It can feel very brittle and inflexible, and it can be harder to refresh on next day because of that inflexibility in it. When I used to straighten my hair, it never looked smooth. I could always tell that my hair was curly, and generally I can handle moisture in my hair. It takes a lot to truly weigh it down. It won't necessarily get straightened out and flat. But one of the biggest differences between the two is that longevity in between your wash day and whether or not you can tolerate moisture or not. Our first step is to prep our hair. So I've already wet my hair down, and now I need to apply my heat protectant / leave-in conditioner. This step is what is going to control the moisture content in your hair and the amount of slip that you have. On the soft finish side, I'm using the Living Proof leave-in conditioning spray because this is one of the most lightweight prep products that I have. If you look at the texture of it in my hand, it is clear and has a little bit of slip to it because all of us need some slip in our hair, but this is not going to overly soften your hair. It's fairly low in conditioning ingredients. One easy way to tell is those clear water-based sprays tend to be a bit more lightweight compared to something that is more creamy, so that's why I chose this leave-in conditioner for this side. I'm spraying it in my hands and then applying it from my ends and then working the rest up towards the top. If you have differences in your texture, or maybe you feel like you have a little bit of a mixture of hair finish, just focus this where you need it the the most. So for me, that's on my top section and also the front area around my hairline. That tends to be the most brittle and dry, so I am going to apply it thoroughly through there. And then my underside doesn't need quite as much. So that's how you can customize it if you do have different textures throughout your hair. Then I just brush that through with my Tangle Teezer brush to make sure it's evenly applied and then run my hands through. This side feels soft and slippery, but it's not overly soft and silky feeling. That's what you want. Then on the other side where I'm styling for a rough finish, I'm going in with my Curlsmith Miracle Shield, and I want you to look at the texture difference in this product. It's still very lightweight. It is a spray product, but see how it's kind of white and milky, kind of a creamy texture? This means that it's a little bit more conditioning. Now, this isn't a foolproof way to analyze your products, but it can give you a general guide. For example, you could have a product that is more clear and it could still be very conditioning, but as a general rule of thumb, this is an easy way to tell the difference in your products. So I'm applying that the exact same way, starting on my ends and working the rest up, and I can definitely feel a difference in slip. I would say both of these heat protectants provide a good amount of slip, but I feel just a little bit more softness with the Curlsmith Miracle Shield. As I mentioned before, you can totally still use either one of these no matter what your hair texture is. It's really the gel step that's going to matter the most. But the main thing I want you to keep in mind here is this prep step does impact your hold and the overall longevity that you get out of your hair. So if your hair does get weighed down very easily, make sure that this prep step is not too heavy. I would avoid heat protectants with a lot of silicones, lots of conditioning ingredients, because that could be setting up your soft finish hair for being way too soft. Now it's time to apply the gel, and first starting with the soft finish side, I'm going in with the Curlsmith Fragrance Free Stronghold Gel. I want you to look at the texture of this gel and also how much that I'm using. I'm going very sparingly with this gel because it's a thick texturizing gel. This gel is fairly low in moisture. It's also very thick, so I need to add some water to my palms to help it spread better. This is what's going to ensure that you get an even application and you don't apply too much of this gel. This gel provides that texture and grit, which is basically that grippy feeling. It can almost feel a bit dirty in your hair when you were done styling. That's if you apply too much, but if you apply just a small amount, you're going to get a little bit of that texture in your hair, which is good for soft finish hair. You also need less gel because it is so thick and concentrated, and we're going to spread it evenly with that water in our hair. I'm just raking that through as usual, and as you're raking, you're probably not going to feel as much slip and softness in your hair, but that's okay. It doesn't mean that your hair is dry or that you're harming your hair. Just be gentle and get through that styling process, and I promise it's going to last you so much longer if you have a soft finish to your hair. For styling, I just did basic brush styling, just kind of running the brush through my hair to distribute the product and then using my hands to clump and define the curls. Now moving on to the rough finish side, I'm going in with the Ouidad Advanced Climate Control Stronger Hold Gel. This gel is much more moisturizing and has a lot of slip to it. I'm using a little bit more gel on this side because this gel, you definitely need more of it because of its texture. It's also very runny and liquidy, so I do not need to add water to my hands. Your hands can still be wet, but you don't necessarily need to dilute this gel. You also probably don't need as much water in your hair compared to the other side with the Curlsmith gel. Your hair probably needs to be a little bit more wet. This glides easily through the hair, which is perfect for rough finish hair that tends to tangle very easily and just feel very brittle and not very soft when you're applying product. This gel has a lot of moisture in it, and it does not provide any texture and grit to the hair, so it dries more of a soft, silky feel. The hold level is very similar to where both of these provide strong, long-lasting hold, but the feeling is very different, which will result in different longevity depending on your hair's finish. And don't worry, I will be showing you my day 2 results, so stay tuned for that. One thing that I'm already noticing on the rough finish side with the Ouidad gel is that my hair is clumping a little bit more, and that's because of that higher moisture content. Even though I didn't apply more water to this side, it's still clumping more, which my curls really respond well to. You can still get clumps with the Curlsmith gel, but you'll need to use your hands and probably add a bit more water. You'll need to rely on that water to clump your curls, whereas the Ouidad gel is using a lot of conditioning ingredients, which help coat the cuticle and help the hairs kind of stick together. So I have to actively separate the curl clumps on the Ouidad side, whereas the Curlsmith one, I kind of just scrunched and I was good to go. I'm going to continue styling my middle and my top sections, but I'm doing the exact same styling technique For my styling, I'm using the level 2 medium manipulation techniques that I shared in my styling ladder video that I did, which basically entails how much curl manipulation that you do, but it's really based on your curl pattern. So for mine, I need a little bit of encouragement in my curls to tame frizz and to get them to spring up to their full potential. I can link that video for you down below, because if you have wavy hair, you'll definitely want to watch how you can do less and actually get better waves. So I'm styling both sides the exact same to keep the variables the same. Once I get to the top section, I do a little bit of finger coiling, and I'm just trying to bring out more of the root curl. Because I have my hair split down the middle, this is basically going to really flatten my part and make it look like I don't have any volume. So I'm really trying to direct the hair back and also bring out the most of the root curl that I have to help give me a little bit more lift. A few things that I'm noticing so far is it is much easier to style on the side where I have the Weedad gel, because it is so slippery, so I'm able to easily finger coil. And I'm also seeing more clumping, like I mentioned, and also less frizz on that side. There's less wet frizz, I think, because of that higher moisture content, and it's a little bit easier to spread, so I'm probably getting more even coverage. But on the Curlsmith gel side, I'm seeing a bit more frizz, so I'm adding a little bit more gel where needed, but I also need more water on that side. So this is a perfect example of how you need to tweak the water to gel ratio. When you're using those thicker gels, you've got to up the water amount, or else it's going to be hard to spread and you're probably not going to get as much clumping. I think I'm seeing more frizz on that side too, just because it is less moisture. And for my hair type, I actually need more moisture. I'm also noticing that the Curlsmith side is drying a lot faster, and that's also because there is less moisture and conditioning on this side, so it's naturally going to dry quicker compared to the side that has more moisture on the rougher finish side. So I definitely have to keep wetting things as I'm styling. After I'm done styling, I'm moving on to the microplopping step. This is completely optional, but if your hair takes a while to dry, or if you used a lot of water when you're styling, you'll definitely want to try it. So basically all I'm doing is taking my wet hair towel and I'm gently scrunching out some of that excess water. I'm being mindful to use separate ends of my towel so I don't cross-contaminate the two sides. This is my hair repair towel though. I really like this towel because it's completely smooth. It's not like your traditional microfiber, which can really create frizz. So I'm just gently squeezing my hair, soaking up that excess water. Then I always finish up with another light glaze of gel. I'm going much lighter on the Curlsmith gel side because this gel is already so thick and concentrated that I don't need to apply a lot of extra. I'm just using it to kind of tame any frizz that's starting to pop up, or if I got any frizz from the towel. And I'm not messing up what I just did. I'm just sort of glazing over the surface and doing a little bit of praying hands to help the curls clump better. And I do still mix in water, by the way, because I intentionally want to dilute it at this step. I don't want to apply too much. Then on the Weedad side, I'm going in with still a small amount, and I'm also diluting it a little bit just so I don't apply too much gel, and then I'm just glazing that over the surface. If you're not getting hold out of these softer, slippery gels like the Weedad gel, you definitely need to try the microplopping plus extra gel step. When you go back in after drying your hair a little bit with the towel and apply more, you're really going to get more hold out of it. So if you're not getting a cast with the Weedad gel, definitely try incorporating the microplopping step and then a little light glaze of gel on top. You don't need it so much with the Curlsmith gel, but it is a way to tame any extra frizz. So before I diffuse, let's take a look at the difference between the two sides. So far, I'm still seeing a little bit more wet frizz on the Curlsmith side compared to the Weedad side, even though I applied the correct amount of gel for my hair type for both gels. Now I'm ready to diffuse, and this is really going to lock in all of that work we just did. So I'm using my Curlsmith diffusion with the XXL diffuser because this dryer can dry my hair in just about 10 minutes because of the diffuser design. I'm using my usual diffusing technique where I start off diffusing the front section upside down for maximum shrinkage there, and then I just work around my head moving side to side and also targeting the midsection and also the root area using the prongs of the diffuser. My drying technique is going to stay the same on both sides because your hair's finish, whether if it's soft or rough, doesn't really change what diffusing technique that you use, your desired results do. If you have soft finish hair though, and you are currently air drying, that is probably leading to more elongation and less hold and longevity overall in your hair. So I definitely recommend trying diffusing. It's not going to harm your hair, especially when you're using gentle heat. That heat can actually help to set your curl pattern in place. I'm using my level 3 maximum manipulation scrunch diffusing technique that I shared in my styling techniques ladder video, but this is basically the same technique that I usually use. You can learn more about my diffusing technique in that video, which I will link for you below. My day one results with the Ouidad gel usually do look a little bit more defined, more of that wet look, because it does lock in so much moisture and definition, but I personally think it looks even better into day two, and I will be showing you that. But honestly, I normally get that same look too with the Curlsmith gel. I think I might just have not applied enough. That's really what I'm seeing with this side, because it does feel pretty soft and normally it feels more texturized. So I think I just didn't quite put enough gel in, but this is a great demonstration just to show you that water to gel ratio at play and also the difference in gels. I can usually do either routine because I don't have a dramatically soft texture or a dramatically rough texture. I fall somewhere between medium and rough. And you can also do these different routines just depending on the look that you want or the feeling that you want in your hair, because the feeling is really what's different. The Ouidad side feels more like clean. It feels a bit softer, like more silky feeling almost. And this is what you wouldn't want if your hair naturally is very soft and silky. Whereas on the Curlsmith side, I definitely feel more texture, even though it is overall fairly soft, like it doesn't feel brittle or anything like that. I do notice more texture, a little bit more of that producty, I guess you could say, when I go in and fluff, but that usually gives me more volume. Typically that will stay, and the curl pattern will also stay a bit longer when there is more texture if you do have a looser pattern and a soft finish. Also, when it comes to the moisture content on both sides, I just wanted to clarify that I don't feel like this side with the Curlsmith gel is dry, and I don't think the frizz is from lack of moisture. Honestly, I think most of the frizz on this side is from not using enough. I think if I actually used more of the Curlsmith gel, I would have more frizz control. I also want to share with you my typical results with the Curlsmith fragrance free when I do use quite a bit of that gel, and you can see what I'm talking about. I do have a lot of definition. It is more of that stronghold look and feel, and I don't really have frizz. So all that to say, just because you have frizz doesn't mean that your hair is dry or that you need more moisture. A lot of times you just need more hold and more application of your gel. It's now day two, and I haven't had to do any refreshing other than a little bit of a dry refresh, which just means that I use my dry hands to sort of finger coil the frizz back into my hair to kind of hide it and tuck it in. I did get quite a bit of frizz and fuzziness yesterday because it was pretty humid and sprinkling outside and raining a little bit, and I was outside. So when I woke up this morning, it was just a little bit fuzzy, but nothing crazy. Definitely some more fuzziness on the Curlsmith side, only because I didn't apply quite enough gel on wash day, but both gels usually hold up really well in humidity. But I don't think it looks bad. I don't feel like I need to fully refresh. I was able to tuck it back in on both sides. When you're using these thicker texturizing gels like the Curlsmith gel, it will help your soft textured hair hold a lot longer. However, it does feel a little bit more texturized when you go to refresh, but hopefully you're not having to do as much refreshing. You'll just feel more resistance if you try and detangle, or if you try and work through some curls, or once you put water on, you might feel a little bit of that resistance, but you can still refresh. You just have to be careful with it and don't expect to feel a ton of slip, because there's not much slip on that side. Now for the Ouidad side, it definitely feels very soft still, very silky feeling. It's easy to refresh. You feel that slip come back when you put water on it. I don't feel like I need water today. I was able to do a dry refresh, but if I wanted to touch up tomorrow, I would probably just do water on the Ouidad side because I know I got enough gel. Whereas on the Curlsmith side, I might add a little bit of gel, a tiny bit mixed with some water to try and tame some of that fuzziness, but I think it still looks really great. Overall, I think this was a win, and it's really interesting to see the difference, mainly in feeling between both sides. But both sides soften up nicely and look a little bit softer and natural on day two, and I think look even better, and they both last a really long time. Now that you've seen what a balanced routine looks like for each hair type, and you've seen my day two results, I wanted to also share with you some product combos that work for these different finish types, or maybe even if you fall somewhere in between. But I'm going to include all of those on the blog post that goes with this video, which will be linked down below. So make sure you head over there. You can shop my links, you can see my discount codes, and I'll include which hair type can use which products and how you can mix and match, because it's not like if you have the opposite hair type, you can't can't use that particular product. It's all about how you mix and match them to build that moisture hold balance routine that I talk about in my content. I think this test also showed the importance of using the right gel to water ratio, which I will be making a video on that very soon. I did discuss it in a recent video because it makes a huge difference. If I didn't put on enough gel, it's not going to give me hold, even though I have balanced products. And that's why it's important to not automatically switch products just because you didn't get enough hold one wash day. You need to really dial in all of these small variables that make a big difference. Everything from the way you apply your products, how much that you use, how much water is in your hair, and of course the gel type, like we talked about the differences here today. These are the exact things that I help my curl coaching clients with. We properly test products. I help them dial in the right product balance for them. And I also help them with application. I get to watch them style in real time to where I can tell them the exact tweaks to make. I can say if it looks like they don't have enough water in their hair or if they need to up their gel amount. Those are the little details that make a big difference. And sometimes it does just take that trial and error, which can be difficult to do on your own if you're not trained to spot some of those differences. If that sounds like something you need, I would love to have you for our summer program, which you can now register for. I will have the link for that down below and you can read more about how it works. And let me know below which finish type you think that you have. Do you think you lean more soft or more rough, or do you think you're somewhere in between? And which type of products do you like to go for? If you're still struggling with finding that right balance, I really recommend checking out the moisture hold balance framework video that I did, because this is the basis of everything that I teach when it comes to building out your curly hair routine and really dialing in these two things that really interact and can throw off your entire routine. So I'll put that video linked for you right here on the screen, and I will talk to you over there. Bye, everyone.